So up next now we have Ghost Rider from 2007, right? So for me, I'm not gonna stay long on this, right? But I'll see where, right? So my little backstory with this, right? I was, I saw this in theaters. I was marginally excited in seeing this, right? Reason being, compared to Blade, I actually was familiar with the Ghost Rider comic book, right? Not
Right.
to a large degree, right? Um, it's so funny how I got into Ghost Rider itself because back in the 90s there was a little comic book called Spawn, right? I know
Right.
it was like, oh my god, like
Oh,
look at those
yeah.
covers, man. Look at how cool Todd McFarlane's artwork is, right? So Ghost Rider for me, even though I know Ghost Rider came out long before Spawn, right? I always felt like the Marvel equivalent to that, right? I just love the design of Ghost Rider, especially Vengeance. That character, Vengeance, is always like my favorite character in that entire series, right? Um, I just loved how dark it went. Again, it just reminded me so much of Spawn, right? So hearing that we were going to get a movie out of this, like, all right, okay, cool. But it's Nicolas Cage. All right.
Woo!
Yeah,
boy.
like I wasn't like following up his entire filmography back then. I mean, I know he starred in action, like great action films like Face Off, still one of his best films.
Woo.
You know, what was the next show I was thinking about? The Rock, still
Right.
one of the greatest action movies ever made in the 90s, I should say.
Con
he did
Air.
Con Air.
Con Air,
was fun.
Con Air.
Con Air was fun.
Con Air is a lot. Con Air, I
It's
love Con Air, but Con
I
Air
love
is one of those.
Con Air. This is
Put
No, yeah,
the
Con Air's real vibes, you know.
Take back.
and put the money back in the box, it's great, right? So, like I wasn't like, overly excited by the cast in there, but I thought, Nicolas Cage, I mean, he might want an Oscar, so this thing could work, right? And it's Ghost Rider, right? Can't really mess this up, right? And then I saw the film, right? And I didn't hate it, right? Saw it a couple of times on cable, didn't hate it then, kind of forgot about it. It's one of those shows for me personally that I see. I don't hate. There's a lot of things in it that don't work. There's a lot of things that don't hold up.
Yeah.
But there's like seeds of great ideas just sprinkled throughout this. Like even when I was watching, in preparation for this, I like this idea. I like this. This is pretty interesting, right? Like case in point, like the thing that just blew my mind is rewatching this, right? Is when it came out, right? If I mean, yes, these movies were in the Avi Arad era, right? But I mean, you have to give Marvel points for just the timing of when you put these movies out, right? Because yeah, in the 2000s, this new, I'll call it like these neo racing films, these car and biker films, kind of
Right.
came back now. So you had the Fast and Furious movies, you had Biker Boys,
Right.
you had Talk, right, which is
Talk.
still one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies. My God, that movie is trash, was my kind of trash, right? So they can imagine Marvel like, yeah, what I mean, these people like to see protagonists in vehicles driving at top speed. So let's do Ghost Rider. This
Yep.
makes sense, right? Yeah.
Oh, that
I like
phrasing.
speed,
I love it.
And yet it kind of do work as well as it should. So just to get the good out of the way, right? I mean, for what it is, I mean it's well shot, and I'll get to acting in a bit, right? But like for me, Nicolas Cage kind of owns the role because he is just the Nicolas Cage that we kind of know and love, right? In this case, I'm just being weird for being weird. I eaten
That man, he
jelly beans
adores
off a
the
martini
character.
glass.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, he just so
He has a
delightful
Ghost
to
Rider
be.
tattoo, right?
Yes, and he lobbied. Yes, he does. He had to actually have it covered up for the movie, which is hilarious. But
Right.
Oh, okay. I
he
didn't know. I
lobbied
didn't know.
hard for this role. He really
if I was-
pushed
Right.
to get it. So.
Like if I was the director and I knew he had a Ghost Rider tattoo, I was like, no, we need to make that foreshadowing. Make it in the movie. Keep it.
Or maybe if the movie was clever, they could have said that was how the devil or the Mephistophelies character. I know I'm butchering the name. Sorry. Like maybe that's like his cattle brand. Like, oh,
Right.
you're my rider, so
Yeah,
here's
that
a
kind
tattoo.
of thing.
You know what I mean?
work,
Something like that.
work with that, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean Nicolas Cage, he owns it though. I'll talk about the sequel in a bit, right? But
Oh, God.
we have to talk about the sequel. But yeah, here
Do
it's-
we?
I'll just mention briefly.
I think it's the sequel is more memorable to me, to be honest. Like
He's
mostly
wow.
because of
That's
Idris Elba.
playing.
Oh, yeah.
Was
True.
Idris Elba. And then I think Sam, who was in this?
Christopher Lambert is in the sequel of all people.
No, who's
the Highlander.
The Fonda is in this one.
right?
Yeah, in this one, yeah.
Yeah.
No. I think Ricardo referred to what is by Ciarán Hinds, if I got the
Yes,
first name
yes.
wrong.
Oh
forgive me.
yeah,
Right,
he-
from Game of
he
Thrones.
plays-
Yeah.
Right.
He plays the devil in the second one, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is funny because Peter Fonda, was playing him in the first film, but I'll talk about that, right? But yeah. So what? But yeah, like look at it now. I one thing I really do like about it though is the sort of neo-western vibe to it. But I
Yes.
felt like they could have tapped into it a little bit more, right? Especially with Sam Elliott's character, right?
Right.
Playing
Oh,
the
yeah.
caretaker, like when he turns into the Ghost Rider, he has the horse and flame and all that.
So cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. And then they playing the sort of like rock, cowboy music basically. I like that.
Is that like
That
the
works.
yeah? It's like the spider bait cover of the Ghost Rider song. Yeah, I think is the one they play in that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Like it's
Oh, you mean-
really
you mean
cool.
during the end credits, right? I think so, right?
Yeah.
Oh, if I'm not mistaken, yeah.
I think this movie has two different covers of the Ghost Riders in the Sky song.
Okay.
One
yeah.
plays over the credits and one plays during that sequence.
Yeah. So I like that comparison between between the caretaker and Johnny Blades, right? Nicolas Cage's character, right? Like, yeah, we're rebels, we're outlaws, man, and we just ride and we do it. Well, we supposed to do the devil's work, but we don't want to do it, right? But where the show really falls, though, is before I get to where it falls, right? And I do like the setup in a way, in terms of, my dad has cancer, and it's a Hollywood movie, so the one way they have to tell you that the way they have to telegraph that the character have cancer is his cough, right? He has to do that, right? That's how
Off
you
in his
know, right?
hands, see a little bit of blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blade
And they
pulls
did
the
it. They
same
did
shit,
it in
yeah.
Blade
That's
too.
every
They did it in
movie.
Blade.
That's every movie signing of
Every-
cancer.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're gonna
So-
freak out little kids. They're gonna cough. Oh God, I have cancer.
So I kind of like that whole setup where it's like, all right, I want to see my dad, but the devil's like, well, yeah, what I mean, I'll ensure that he's cured from cancer, but I don't mean that doesn't mean that he's not gonna die, right? And he ends up dying when he's doing a stunt, right? By the way, the stunts in this movie are ridiculous. My God, right?
Yeah.
So, you jumping over 6 Black Hawk helicopters, and we're supposed to buy that. And the movie keeps cutting to the camera being in front of Johnny's face, Shred. And we're supposed to buy the fact that he is in mid-air, just literally flying over these things. Like come on, movie. Like come on, stop it, right? But yeah, what I mean? In terms of just touching on that whole sort of like Western kind of subculture, if you will. What I mean? It's all about, yeah, man, what I mean? These riders, man, and look at this guy doing all this stunts, man. It's kind of interesting, right? But yeah, where the show really falls though is the villains themselves, boy, right? I kind of was expecting to see more of the devil character, right? But he just kind of
Right.
shows up here, there, right?
Isn't that
But then-
supposed to be Mephisto? The devil
I
character.
don't know,
The comic
Well,
book
because
character,
he's
Mephisto.
called Mephistopheles, so I'm assuming that
that's
he's
it.
supposed to be Mephisto,
Okay,
right?
Mephisto, okay. And here am I thinking we haven't seen Mephisto. Remember, everybody was looking forward to seeing that character show up in WandaVision because
Right.
that's
Yeah.
where her kids come from, and they left that on the cutting room floor. I guess.
Oh man, I feel okay.
Yeah.
To be fair, I feel like there was that time when WandaVision was happening where every character was Mephisto, according to the fans. It was hilarious.
That is
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the villains pretty much suck, right? Wes Bentley, sorry, plays Blackheart, sorry, my God.
forward.
It's like worse Deacon Frost.
Yes, he's aiming for Deacon Frost, where it's like, I don't need to talk, I don't need to listen to you,
Guys,
Dad.
he was
I'm gonna do what I
so
want,
much
man.
drugs at the time, huh? He was in a bad way at the time, and I
Wow.
mean, not everybody is Charlie Sheen. Not everybody could act through that level of drugs in their system, I guess. So,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think
he's
he's
just
doing much better now because Yellowstone is awesome and he's very
Right.
unlikable in
Yeah.
it in all the right ways. So,
all right. I need to jump into Yellowstone, but yeah,
Same.
Blackheart is just so unappealing as a villain. He just looks like, oh, look at me, and with his
Yeah.
vampiric look, oh, look at me and my sharp teeth, oh, look at me, right?
yeah. Very
and I could just touch people and suck the life essence out. Ooh, look at me. It's even worse though. Like his henchmen suck though. Like that one guy who's like water, and next guy who is earth, and next guy who is wind. How the wind guy get killed is so funny. It's so funny. How the water guy get killed was pretty funny too. Although I do like the setup with the whole sort of like misty swamp like place. I kind of like that. That was kind of cool from a set design perspective, right? But yeah, these villains pretty much suck, right? Couple of cool action scenes, like with like the I guess kind of famous moment with Ghost Rider evading the cops, and there's a scene, it was all over the trailers where he's riding up the building. You know what I mean? That was a cool shot. I like that. I like that. That's why I went to see it. It was cool, right? I'd watch it again. Yeah, it's cool, right? The so-called romance between Nicolas Cage and Eva Mendes is so forced.
Dear God.
It is so forced.
Terrible.
It's so forced. I mean, I know Eva Mendes. I mean, no disrespect to her. I mean, she was
No
big back then and whatnot. But
She has a top tier body. But
top tier body, right? But I mean, she like the setup is pretty good, right? Like with him was supposed to meet her and ride off with her and all that stuff, and then he kind of duck she, right? Well, he had a ghost and she saw, right? So like when he meet her back up again and trying to respark, whatever. Try to respark this whole relationship thing didn't work. It's to the point that she literally had to force herself onto him, Jen. It's like, and he's still like, no, can't do it because I'm sorry, I'm a ghost rider. I just can't do it anymore. It just don't work, right? So there's couple. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, oh yes, and also before I forget, didn't know that Rebel Wilson made a cameo. She was she was the fat girl
I think
who
it's her first ever on-screen role, right?
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay, didn't know that. Yeah, but she was one in the so basically Ghost Rider has to basically, track these individuals with dark souls and, some kind of weird stuff, right? But yeah, she was about to get killed and, he ended up saving her life, right? But yeah, I mean, in terms of that movie though, it's not bad. It's not bad. I see where they're going for with it, though. It is very light in terms of the horror elements, but I like that. And I felt it could have gone a way darker, a little bit more darker, though. But I felt it was a little too safe. It was a little too clean. It was a little too polished. It just could have been more, right? Because I mean, look at the character Ghost Rider, man. We could have gotten something a little bit more, grim, right? But here, it just kind of feels very, very flashy, I mean, in a way, right? IGN currently ranks this as one of the top 10 worst comic book movies of like the 2000s.
Yep.
No.
I'm not as harsh at the movie as them, but for me personally, I just think that there's a lot of the show just had a lot of potential, boy, and just kind of squandered on just, it's Nicolas Cage, look at me, and it's Eva Mendes, look at how attractive she is, right? But it could have gone deeper and darker with that story. I mean, this Ghost Rider, for God's sake, right? And last thing I'll say before I shut up now. So when Spirit of Vengeance came out now,
Oh God.
oh my God, one of the worst movies of the 2010s, right? And
geez.
I think the film that pretty much ended the career of poor Mark Neville Dean and Brian Taylor, right? Who you'll know from, one of my guilty pleasure movies, one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies, Crank, right?
Yeah,
And
those
it's funny
guys.
because I actually recapped this movie because I haven't seen that since 2012, right? In preparation for this, I rewatched Spirit of Vengeance, right? And the
Damn.
shocking thing about this movie, boy, is how, in comparison to Ghost Rider, the first one, how cheap this show looked, though. It looks so incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that, Neville Dean and Taylor, because they are action directors, right? They know how to move a camera around, they know how to make scenes very connected and whatnot, right? But yeah, it just looked unbelievably cheap, Trent. I wondered if Nicolas Cage was pocketing the money. I don't know if Idris Elba was pocketing the money, right? But it just looks so cheap, boy.
Yeah.
And
Plot twist.
the story was
Christopher
just
Lambert is pocketing the money.
yeah, probably Christopher Lambert, right? And even worse though is how the show kind of acts as, well, the first movie got bad reviews, so we're just gonna do this soft reboot and act like that movie didn't exist, right? So they redid the backstory and whatnot. The devil character shows back up, but they give him another backstory, if you will, and just nothing about it worked. Nothing about it worked, right? But I will say they just did one cool thing, and that was just that chase sequence in the end. That chase sequence was dope. It was dope, right? And also, I must say, I do like the design of Ghost Rider in this version. Like, I like how much more charred his skull is. Like, I felt like in the first movie, his skull just looked too clean, Jen. It looked too clean.
Yeah.
Like, dog, it encased in fire, Jen. I want to see, I want to see Ashton, but no, it just looked too clean. Here, they make it look real, ashy, right? I like that. I like that, right? I do like the extra flames that they put on the wheels of the bike itself, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the only praise I could give Spirit of Vengeance. Everything about it is utter garbage, right? But yeah, I mean, Ghost Rider, the original one, not the worst thing I've seen in my life, Joe, but there was just so much potential off of it. And I mean, yes, Nicolas Cage was starring it, but it like even he and all like didn't have to be the only thing that was carrying that film on his shoulders, man. They could have put a lot more effort into that film. That's all I'll say. See, Ricardo, Ghost Rider, your history with it, and just what you thought about the movie now.
Ghost Rider is one of these side characters that I've never got into. I actually came to this for the Nicolas Cage, not the Ghost Rider. Surprisingly, not into this movie. This is actually quite forgettable for me. The second one works because it nailed the aesthetic of Ghost Rider a lot better, and then Idris Elba was pretty good in it, even though he had this weird French accent, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he did.
I don't really know what's going on.
But a French accent, anyway.
For some reason. Yeah, but I remember the sequel more, even though I think the sequel is worse. This was just tepid and forgettable, and I don't remember getting into it at all, as it is. But yeah, it came for the Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is a person who, for all the problems we have with him, and for better or for worse, especially in the mid 2000s, he was really in the downward slump in that period.
Yeah.
It still works, and he makes it for what it is. I remember people getting into dumb jokes about, well, Daredevil should be called Ghost Rider and Batman should be called this, and but that dumb joke about that the character should be called Daredevil. He's a Daredevil and he's evil. Like it's that's where you're
like I know there was a poster. Well, fun fact, there's actually a poster in the movie with Daredevil in it, and I thought, like, when I saw it, I was like, all right, but I didn't think that back then people would be like, you see, Daredevil, you can connect the two, right? And then, yes, I forgot, right, Daredevil was a movie that was in the 2000s as well, right?
Yep.
Oh, right. God.
Yeah. It was a whole thing. I don't know. This is just forgettable and tepid for me. I barely remember anything in it, as this is. To be honest, I actually should give it a full rewatch, I remember seeing it. I did see it in theaters. That's why I don't remember it as strongly. Back in the early days of quote unquote piracy and BitTorrent, I remember seeing it, and then I saw it later on cable. But yeah, that is about it. For me, I have almost no workable memory for it in that sense. It just comes and goes. Like, it is like, what about it is memorable? Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Like, it's just really forgettable.
Right. Well, we're actually going to save some for last, right? Because I want to hear her horror take on this movie, right? Because the show really feels at capitalizing on the horror aspect of that movie. I think that's where the show really could have dived in deeper to, right? But yeah, CC, Ghost Rider.
This would be a great movie if it was animated for children. Is my take on Ghost Rider. If Ghost Rider is a movie that's odd because the character is really cool. And the first time I watched this movie as a teenager, because again, this isn't R, it's PG-13, so I watched it as a teenager, like, oh, this is so cool. And then the older I get, I ended up not being able to revisit it for this episode because I didn't have time, and also it's not streaming anywhere. I'm not sure who owns it because it was part of that weird era in Marvel's history.
Yeah, because it's a Sony film, right?
Oh, okay, that explains it. No, I couldn't stream it anywhere because Sony has not made it available to stream anywhere. I could just walk into any thrift store ever and pick up a copy because while I'm hunting for other films, Ghost Rider copies it's one of those movies that I almost feel like was made just so they could stock thrift store shelves a little bit because I see it there all the time.
Okay.
I'm always seeing Ghost Rider in thrift stores and in secondhand places, and I've even seen it at the flea market a couple times. But Ghost Rider, it feels like a kid's movie. It has a level of like it has that level of like horror kind of with cartooniness that almost feels like it's more appropriate for for Goosebumps, like that kind of thing. Like it feels like that level of intensity where if you're a teenager or like a kind of older kid, you're going to go, "Oh, wow, that's so cool." But like if you're an adult, this is going to do very little. Like there's not, it's just such like there's so much of this movie I just do not remember, and it's a movie that like I have a lot of fond memories of, but I know if I revisit it, it's going to be disappointing. I have similar views about this guy's Daredevil movie because it's the same director, which is wild to me. Like,
oh yes, that's true. Yeah,
same director, and he wrote both of them as well. And I'm like, why? How are you allowed to do this twice? How are you allowed to do this twice? Because like. I meant to get copies of both of these at one point. I do have a copy of Daredevil, but I've been kind of eyeing it. I've been giving it a side eye because I'm like, I don't want to revisit you because I know you're not going to be as good as I remember. But like Ghost Rider, like, and it's so sad because like as a genuine Nicolas Cage fan, not a meme Nicolas Cage fan, but like a fan of Nicolas Cage as a serious dramatic actor. Yeah. No, this is one of his weakest performances because like he clearly. Like, he loves the character, he understands the character, and, like, when you look at the behind the scenes of him, like, you know, playing Ghost Rider, he's clearly having a blast. And, like, I think he wants an interview that he really liked the Jekyll and Hyde element of the character and, like, wanted to play that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand that. But the script, which I'm surprised wasn't written by David S. Goyer, doesn't really give him anything to do, really. Like, it's a very flat, very safe, very standard origin story, like the kind that we got so many of at that time in particular, where it's like everything is origin stories. Part of the reason I still dislike origin story movies, because they tend to be we spend so much time explaining the characters that we end up with like very flat, dull villains, like we do end up in this film. But like it's not bad, it's just very forgettable. It's the kind of movie that, again, if it were animated, and if this was one of those like direct-to-video Marvel animated films, we'd be saying, oh, this is surprisingly good. But as like a theatrical live-action movie meant for like a bigger audience, it just kind of comes across more as forgettable than anything else.
Right. And just closing stuff, Summer, how disappointed were you by Ghost Rider when you first saw it? I'm looking at it now.
Okay, so from a comic book point of view, Ghost Rider was never really a character that I followed. I'm more familiar with the Johnny Blaze version, which of course is the version Nick Cage is playing. But from a horror point of view, yes, it was disappointing. As you guys hit all the right words: tepid, forgettable, average, all of those things. Because I'm with Ricardo. I remember Spirit of Vengeance a lot more than I remember Ghost Rider.
Oh,
and even with all its flaws, that's the movie that stuck out to me because that one leaned a lot more into the horror elements. That whole kind of Damien Omen vibe that they had going on with the young boy who was supposed to be, I guess, like the vessel for the devil or the Antichrist, whatever he was. It's not a good movie, but it has a lot more memorable elements that work better for the character. And it's just a shame that they didn't, lean into that stuff more. But they were going, you could tell they were going for that PG-13 thing. They wanted that PG-13 money, and they didn't care that the character doesn't fit a PG-13 mold at all. So the best version of Ghost Rider we've gotten so far is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. version.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah, fantastic
Definitely.
version. That's the one I would like to see on the big screen. I know they probably will go back to Johnny Blaze, but
probably.
Yeah, this movie, I mean, it, like you guys said, you guys hit the nail on the head. It's forgettable. It did nothing to make the character appealing in any way, shape, or form. And Spirit of Vengeance is the one that, if I was forced to pick one to rewatch, that is the one I would go for, just because there's a lot more horror there. And I feel like and of course, there's actually a scene that I quite liked when Ghost Rider possesses this giant crane type thing.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is on fire. And that is badass. That entire scene stands out.
That's what they spend the majority of the budget on.
But overall, no, they swing and a miss both times. And, hopefully they'll get it right eventually. Because if they're bringing back characters like Blade and they've introduced like Moon Knight and so forth, it's not too much of a stretch of the imagination to believe they're going to be bringing Ghost Rider to the big screen at some point in time.